The Allies finally agree to threaten Bosnian Serbs with major airstrikes. Reaction from the killing fields? That's not nearly good enough. Federal agents and racism at the, quote, good old boys roundup. Congress rounds up the brass and demands answers. And the good news, Bears, you've won the lottery.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. The United States and its allies laid down a new warning to Bosnian Serbs today. They promised to defend one of the remaining UN safe zones in Bosnia with major airstrikes if necessary. President Clinton said it was a step forward, but it failed to silence critics or Serbian guns. White House correspondent Rita Braver begins our coverage.
After days of intense negotiations, Western nations warned the Bosnian Serbs that any moves on the Bosnian safe area of Gorazda would meet with a substantial and decisive response, including NATO airstrikes. In Washington, President Clinton quickly tried to underscore the bombing threat.
For the United States, the most important word is decisive.
But with some countries worried that their peacekeepers could become hostages, the formal announcement by British Foreign Secretary Malcolm Rifkin was anything but gung-ho.
There was strong support for this to include the use of air power, but there was also great concern expressed.
U.S. officials tried to counter fears that this is just another empty threat, and they say that cumbersome rules for NATO airstrikes have been greatly simplified.
Any air campaign in Gorazde will include significant attack on significant targets. There will be no more pinprick strikes.
The plan, still being modified, calls only for specific defense of Gorazda, but U.S. officials say it could be quickly changed to save the other remaining safe areas. But the Senate Majority Leader called the London meeting a disappointment and said he'll press forward with his bill to lift the arms embargo.
And I believe that the Senate will not be fooled by the administration's spin doctors who will no doubt announce great results from the London meeting.
A senior White House official tonight described past bombing threats as, quote, all crap. This one, he insisted, is serious. He claimed we are at a decisive moment and said this time if the West issues a threat and fails to follow through, in effect, it's lights out for the United Nations mission. Rita Braver, CBS News at the White House.
The Allies' warning on Gorazda didn't even mention the other UN safe havens in Bosnia, and Serbian forces stepped up the pressure on them today. Combat correspondent Barry Peterson reports from the war zone.
As the world hurled threats at the Serbs hurled shells and sniper fire at Sarajevo. Are the Serbs intimidated by the military might of the West? Ask Sarajevo's newest victims, fighting tonight for their lives. To the people of Bosnia, the indecisive signals from the London conference are an invitation to more of this.
This will make the terrorist Serbs very confident. Once more, the international community has backed down.
Some refugees from Srebrenica still can't cope with homelessness. Others are picking up the pieces of daily life. The good news, if you call it that, comes on the humanitarian aid front. The Bosnian government has decided to stop punishing the UN and is now allowing convoys to make their ways along these tortuous mountain roads. Supplies are being trucked in should a second safe haven collapse. Thousands more refugees would need food and housing. Even the road to Sarajevo is open, so the first big convoy for some time finally reached the Bosnian capital. In a small corner of Sarajevo, there was a family goodbye for Adnan Hadjic, killed by a mortar. My only comfort, said his father, is knowing that my grief is shared by so many others in this city who lost their children. Bosnia's question to the world tonight is simple. Why won't you help us in this war so we can stop putting 12-year-old children into caskets? Barry Peterson, CBS News, Zenica, Bosnia.
In this country, it happened last night. Republican Governor Pete Wilson led the Board of Regents in voting to end affirmative action at the University of California. After the vote, civil rights leader Jesse Jackson led a protest march through the streets of San Francisco. The demonstrators blocked an intersection, expecting to be arrested, but the police just stood by, and the protesters soon got up and walked away. In Washington, Congress heard new accusations today of blatant racism at an annual picnic attended by federal law officers. Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer has the latest political fallout from the, quote, good old boy roundup.
When this home video surfaced last week, it caused a national outrage. Federal and state lawmen could be seen at an annual Tennessee cookout called the Good Old Boy Roundup, surrounded by racist propaganda and paraphernalia. Today, the heads of federal law enforcement agencies came to the Capitol to hear Congress's outrage.